Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today we're going to be continuing with our series, Dumbfounding Definitions, Dizzying Distinctions, and Diabolical Doctrines, a series sorting through some of the jargon of philosophy. In this video we're going to be looking at what is a transcendental argument, and some objections we might have to them. So, transcendental arguments are a particular type of argument. They are famously anti-skeptical. They are commonly associated with Immanuel Kant, who's often credited with their introduction. However, they can be found in the works of Strawson, Wittgenstein, and others. Transcendental arguments take the following form. Some claim C about my mental states is obviously true and can't be doubted, such as I have a particular belief, I think, I have knowledge, I believe good and evil exist, my mind exists, etc. Premise 2. In order for that claim C to be true, some other statement S must be true, and S is usually about the external world. We're not in the matrix, God exists, other minds exist, etc. Therefore, S is true. Now, the power of transcendental arguments is that they can take statements about what is internal to your mental states, things that are much, much more difficult to doubt, and leverage them to make claims about the world. To say, well, the only way for this thing in my mind to be true would be for something to be true about the external world. Therefore, that thing has to be true about the external world. Because it's much easier for us to doubt things in the external world. It's much harder for us to doubt things in our mind. So this argument basically leverages that disparity and says, well, we can use these harder to doubt things in our mind or more justified things in our mind to actually confer that justification onto facts about the external world. There's a range of different actual transcendental arguments that follow this form. We're not going to look at them all here. In future videos, though, we will definitely examine them. Here, we're just going to look at broadly the form of transcendental arguments as a whole and some of the problems with them. So, today, transcendental arguments are generally considered debunked in philosophy for a range of reasons, while some positions in philosophy are often considered open questions with proponents on either side. The death of transcendental arguments in serious philosophical circles can be traced to a single paper written by Barry Stroud in 1968. Stroud argued that there is an issue with the second premise of such arguments. Stroud argues that this is a case of doxastic necessity instead of alethic modal necessity, though he doesn't use those terms. If we have the belief that we have knowledge, it may be necessary that we also believe that we are not in a skeptical scenario. There's a psychological necessity there. If you believe you know something, then you must believe that you're not in a skeptical scenario, because if you were in a skeptical scenario, then your beliefs wouldn't be true and they wouldn't be justified, and they might not even be your beliefs. However, it does not follow that just because we believe that we have knowledge, that we are actually not in a skeptical scenario. Simply that we also believe that we're not in a skeptical scenario. Even if one could support the claim that belief in good and evil requires a belief in God, it would not follow that God exists, merely that people that believe in good and evil also believe in God. The point is, we've done this subtle trick of jumping something outside of that belief quantifier, outside of that intentional state, when we shouldn't be allowed to. There's a certain level of psychological necessity which this argument hasn't shown. That second claim, at best, proves that psychologically we can only hold certain things. It doesn't show that mental states must be reliant on particular physical states of the world. I could believe that I have knowledge, and therefore believe that I'm not in the matrix, but still in fact be in the matrix and be deceived in both of those beliefs. So that is the most common objection out there. There's a range of discussion around it, but the general consensus is that these arguments are ineffective for that reason. But as a skeptic, I think we can dig deeper. There are further issues. One might claim that even our claims about our own mental states are subject to doubt. Remember, I am a complete skeptic, so I'm skeptical even of claims like I am thinking right now, or I exist right now. If I consistently experience sensation X as pain, and then one day mistake sensation X for belief in good and evil, it seems that I have made a mistake. and that sensation X is in fact pain, and I do not have that belief. If we can be mistaken about these mental states, even the seemingly unshakable first premise of these arguments will be subject to doubt. So this is just another direction to go of saying we're not even going to touch the modal claim and how that's very unjustifiable and difficult to prove. We're just going to say that special preferred status that you're giving to mental states, I don't think even those can have the status of knowledge or the status of some level of proof. They don't get that special status because we can doubt them just as easily as we can doubt the external world. And so your trick of trying to leverage the higher justification for the mental states isn't going to work because the mental states aren't justified themselves. So, as with any argument that has two premises, you can doubt one or you can doubt the second one. All right. In future videos, we're going to look at particular instances of transcendental arguments for various claims. But what do you think? Are you convinced by the transcendental arguments? Or are Stroud and my critiques enough to sink this type of argument in your mind? Watch this video and more here at Carneades.org and stay skeptical, everybody.